Story begins as our miserable protagonist Yu Damduk at interview looking for a job in which the interviewers were asked him question with ignorance in their body posture. Despite that, our protagonist Yu Damduk trying to be positive in nature, excited ready to answer, but before he could finish, one of interviewers told him to shush and let him read the next question, telling him what motivation he has for joining their company. Excited for that was the question he was fully prepared.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care. Jerry.
But our boy was ignored as if the interviewers had him on Don't Not Disturb mode, telling him he had no talent or exceptional background, goddammit. They roasted our protagonist and dissed him educationally, called him poor like below bare minimum. They told Yu Damduk if he was wasting their time. This left Yu Damduk speechless, almost turning insane, looking at the interviewers blankly. What is it I mean? Asked the one of them, tapping the table, looking at him in disgust and disappointment, telling him despite having no talent and having the nerve to apply to such a huge company. Our protagonist asked why did they not mention that unawakened person isn't allowed to apply and considered trash. He replied telling him that because of the law they don't discriminate people, telling him but reality is different. This pissed Yu Damduk off everywhere he went. They only focused on talent. Yu Damduk hearing the word talent again pissed him off. Ever since the dungeons appeared to the world, few people were able to awaken their abilities, in which they later were called talnets, and led a counterattack and was seemed to be a blessing from the gods. But this led to our useless protagonist to feel he was worthless person. Our company works for profits. Someone with no talents is useless, said the interviewer told Yu Damduk. Do you know what you said discriminates against people with zero talent? This made one of the interviewer to fear, telling our protagonist he was the one who caused it. They began to insult our broke-ass protagonist, who sat there nonchalantly. He leaned towards them and told them, does he look like a trash bin beside the stench of being broke? And told them to apologize. The interviewers, looking as if they were in their villain arc, are told Yu Damduk he's the one that should apologize. Seeing their refusal, he stood up, showing them a voice recorder and that he had the whole interview recorded, causing the interviewers to panic and standing in alert. He told the interviewers that they gave fraud information about the interview and they admitted discriminating him, and he turned and began to leave the building. This made the interviewer to be in a panic and telling Yu Damduk that they will apologize, reaching out to stop him. But Yu Damduk slapped their hands away, turning his head, looking at them, saying, let's see how you will repeat those words at the Human Rights Commission, and left, closing the door behind him. The interviewers saw their life with no future, that even the colors left them for good. Outside the building, our protagonist was pissed, checking his phone, seeing that the report he submitted to the Human Rights Commission had been submitted. Talents is humanity blessing? Fuck that shit. And stepped on a gum while waking, fueling his frustration, trying to remove the game from the pavement while cussing. All of a sudden, water splashed on his face, washing every hope and energy to rage. The gardener apologized to Yu Damduk, his gaze deeply focused to the horizon, asking what the hell is happening today.
Many unbearable hours later.
Reached to his apartment and opened the door. He saw vomit dripping down, asking himself if those drunk bastards vomited in the window again. Cleaning the vomit when he received a call from her mother, telling him his uncle may pay back the money. This angered Yu Damduk. Because his uncle asked them for money and abandoned them, he told his mother that he's not mad at him and that he's sorry for that. He comforted his sick mother, telling him he is well educated and he has a good resume and was doing well in the society. Looking at the amount of bills and debts he needs to pay, and the hospital bill for his mother made him feel oppressed, and told her mother he will call again. Sad brother walked upward the stairs to head out and release some stress. He opened up a pack of cigarettes, telling himself this, the only thing that comforts him as he tries to light up the cigarette. But to no avail. Yu Damduk looked at the sky with frustration. His face has the look you look in when it's time to release the most unseen diabolical shit. He threw away the lighter in frustration, and this man decided to have a diss battle with the gods, telling them so many of you and none can think are your brains on display inside your heads. You know what, fuck all of you. You fuckers don't even exist in the first place. Why do I have to live like this? One of you bitches, come down and take responsibility. Bro didn't believe there were gods, but his senses told him they existed. Thunder striked as a confirmation of gods. This fucker was like, nah, that ain't much proof, matter what, fuck you and I dare you. If you can't kill me, all you gods are gay. And the gods personally didn't take such level of disrespect. and smitted you Damduck, you may think he's Rift Herald from League of Legends. Oh fuck, I haven't erased my search history, and will I die a virgin? He was thinking as he was falling. But what will my mom do without me? He said, as his conscience began to fade. But recalling his mom, he summoned the plot amour. You, Damduck began to open his eyes. LeBron, is that you? What, I'm alive. Damn.
Shit.
I don't know which god smited me, but that fucker is gay and fucking blind. If we say as a bat, it will sound as discrimination of animal, cause those fuckers can't see. But they don't miss. Did my head hit that hard that the heavens are hiring? Must I pass out so to try the interview? Or die to be employed? Udamduck asked himself lots of questions when the screen changed, saying the gods are waiting for you.
This is the new series. I was planning to release a 2-hour video as a surprise, but lost everything, so I was only able to recover this. For part 2, the goal is 100 views and 10 likes in 48 hours. Thank you for the support. Subscribe to see you all on the next one. Back at his house, Udamduck was sat there in silence, in deep thought, questioning himself if God does really exist. Bro began to rethink his choices of not believing nor accepting the existence of God, but once he God, he got smited without hesitation, making him question if this is what they called heaven's judgment. Udamduck began to ponder how he is alive despite being struck down by lightning, yet his body didn't sustain even a single scratch on his body. And despite that, looking ahead, he still sees a pop-up screen notifying him saying, hiring, wondering if he is the only one who can see the floating message. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video for part 3. Wait, is this what they call a status window? The one that talented people have? Thought Udamduck. This realization led Udamduck to wonder if the lightning strike was a talent he had inherited. To confirm his theory, he called out status window and waited patiently. He looked at the floating message, but nothing happened. This made our protagonist, Udamduck, frustrated and annoyed. He wondered if he would have to walk around with a screen on his face like an advertisement forever. He thought that by insulting the gods, he might have canceled his premium life membership, and now he had to persevere with the constant advertisements. Looking closely at the floating message, he realized that it looked like a part-time job notice, saying that the message began to brighten and lighten up, blinding Udamduck's eyes. When the system began to show warning signals,
access granted,
it confused our protagonist, Udamduck. The confusion turned into shock when multiple system tabs appeared simultaneously, resounding with alerts. Seeing the screen displaying so many requests of part-time jobs, Udamduck begins to laugh, looking at the screen tab, saying, even in reality, am destined to do part-time jobs. With a sigh of relief, Udamduck decided to look at his current situation positively since he had nothing to lose. Anyway, he saw no other choice but to take the opportunity before him. Looking at the system tab displaying part-time job lists, Udamduck decided to check the gods' part-time job list and realized it was divided into categories as well. Curious, he tried to click on another category to see what might happen.
Access denied.
This puzzled Udamduck as the floating screen suddenly turned red. What? Said Udamduck. The system tab saying that it requires divine power to access the part-time job, in which Udamduck to ask what divine power was the system replied, it was the energy used by the gods. Seeing this, even Udamduck knew he didn't have such power, leave alone did he not possess any talents, which by saying this, he suffered serious blows on how pathetic he was. But his intuition didn't warn him of any danger in accepting the part-time jobs. Besides, who knows, this will be my chance to make a turning point, thought Udamduck. Having no other option, he came to a conclusion. He decided to try the part-time jobs. Tapping on the searching for more part-time jobs, Udamduck realized that the system tab was like a job website, easy to go through and understand. Trolling through the dozens of part-time jobs, Udamduck noticed one that didn't require any divine power. power, which immediately caught his eye. He clicked on it and saw that the job involved creating the Midgard dungeon with no divine power needed. Further details revealed that the employer was none other than Thor, the god of thunder. The job required only physical labor, and the work hours could be negotiated. The payment was 12 Thor per day. There was also a warning that Loki's minions were not allowed to apply, or they would be crushed. Yu Damduk, reading again the part-time job title he saw, it was creating a dungeon, which made Yu Damduk to question if those dungeons are always full of monsters. This revelation scared and shocked Yu Damduk, making him question whether the dungeons were actually created by gods. Should he believe this conclusion? Trying to understand how the part-time job works, he asked how and what will he be paid for accepting, in which the system showed him he will receive 12 Thor. What the fuck is that? Coming to conclude it may be the money used by gods, and that may be currency of the mighty Thor. But since money used by gods, it won't be cheap, said Yu Damduk, and he accepted the creation of the Midgard dungeon. With confidence, he smiled eagerly as a bright pixel light enveloped him and telephoned him to a different realm. Teleportation was a lightning strike splitting an ancient tree. Coming out of the middle of the tree, coughing, making weak, unstable steps out. Fuck Thor, fuckers, transport and care on his employee is horrendous. Just sending here no protective gear or disclaimer. Looking at the unfamiliar surrounding, Yu Damduk began to say, I study geography, and ain't no way this is Earth. If it easy, I'm getting my refund from my geography teacher, cause that man had lied on his resume. Today hasn't been a normal day, huh? I wish could assume this to being a dream, but being smited by a god with the worst aim, I am reassured this isn't a dream, said Yu Damduk. Yu Damduk, still pondering if this was the feeling lucid dreaming, when a creature was creeping behind, slowly, not to alert Yu Damduk. The creature, seeing it, had covered much closer distance. It leaped towards Yu Damduk, our protagonist, sensing something approaching him. He instinctively turned to look what it was. The creature was already close to Yu Damduk, ready to give him the most heartwarming and affectionate kiss that will put him to a good long rest. Yu Damduk's mind was in shock, unable to react, seeing the affectionate he was gonna receive will be soul departing, and told Yu Damduk,
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical.
The creature opening its mouth wide, sticking its tongue out, so to keep the kiss more affectionate. Yu Damduk, in fear of death, closed his eyes and covered his face. Thunderous sound was heard from the direction of the creature, shocking him. What could have caused such noise? Seeing it was a huge figure, yet was able to move so quickly. Having a closer look, he saw it was a ginormous man, which made him to question if this beast was birth or constructed to life. Bro looked at his body and the way he was holding the poor creature with a devious smile, like he was the only predator, told the creature to be a good boy. And letting out a huge laughter. Yu Damduk, seeing this titan of a person, began to think this man made him a 5 feet person as him appear. 3 feet brother had the world 10 times zoomed out. This man, who may be Shaq O'Neal, distant relative, turned and looked toward Yu Damduk, contemplating on his unfamiliar face, making him to think if he was a new worker. Yu Damduk's heart stopped beating, saying, GG, we had a great ran. The man gave out a Rottweiler smile, telling our protagonist that he was the son of Odin, and his name is Thor, the god of thunder. The poor creature was holding for his dear life. Thor tapped what he seems lightly at Yu Damduk, almost shattering his bones, telling him that of he knew him because he is worldly famous. And laughed happily, still chalking the poor creature. Picking up Yu Damduk by the shoulder, Thor walked away with him, suggesting they continue their conversation on the way. He asked our protagonist if he had ever eaten, noting that he seemed so light, around 90 kilos.
I beg to differ, sir.
Did this guy just say 90 kilograms was light? Thor then told Yu Damduk that he needed to eat more and weigh an average of 500 kilograms. to be considered healthy. He also asked if Yu Damduk was strong despite his light body. Yu Damduk turned to scrutinize the giant figure beside him. Looking at Thor's massive muscular body, he noticed a hammer at his waist that emitted lightning uncontrollably. He assumed it was Mjolnir, confirming to Yu Damduk that this was indeed the real Thor, god of thunder, making him break out in a sweat. Thor extended his hand to Yu Damduk for a greeting, asking if he was a god from Asia. This question startled Yu Damduk. After some thought, he realized it made sense for Thor to perceive him as a god. Looking around, he noticed two gods seated in a meditative stance, though he couldn't recognize what type of gods they were. By their appearance, they didn't seem human. This made Yu Damduk realize he was the only human among dragons, significantly diminishing his chances of survival. Wait, he remembered he didn't even have a chance, let alone a percentage of one. With a fearful and shy smile, Yu Damduk answered Thor's question, saying he was the god of the mountains.
C-A-P. Cap. Cap. C-A-P. Cap.
He added that he came from a small mountain.
Cap.
Internally, however, he thought, damn, if I were a god, I'd be the god of poverty with the amount of bills I have. Sheesh. The only difference between me and a homeless person is that I'm living in a house illegally. Though laughed at Yu Damduk's response, tapping on his back. But our protagonist felt similar experience of being hit by Truck-kun. Thor praised Yu Damduk, telling him he had heard that he had saved people who are in danger. Thor's mood shifted dramatically when he remarked that Yu Damduk seemed deeply immersed in human culture. This put our protagonist on high alert, wondering how he had ended up in such a precarious position. He realized he needed to be careful or risk dire consequences. Yu Damduk laughed it off, telling Thor that he wanted to learn and understand human needs. Internally, he knew he had learned a lot about human frailty after that lightning strike. No further confirmation was needed. You must really cherish humans a lot, Thor replied, then asked Yu Damduk if he was sure about taking on this part-time job, which Yu Damduk heart skipped when he was asked this question, recalling the part-time job was the creation of a doujin. With a bloodthirst glare, Thor told Yu Damduk that his job was to make humans suffer. With a dilemma but unable to express, Yu Damduk forced a laughter and told Thor that of course he was prepared for the job. Approaching the doujin in creation, Thor asked Yu Damduk that if he ever had about a doujin called the Minotaur's Maze. Yes, I do have heard of it. Why, Sir Thor? Asked Yu Damduk. Well then, this will make things simple for me, said Thor, pointing forward for Yu Damduk to look. Turning his head in the direction Thor indicated, Yu Damduk's eyes widened in surprise and disbelief. A bright light blinded him momentarily as birds flew past, causing him to shield his eyes from the intense illumination. The sight before him was spectacular, something he had never witnessed before. It was a heavenly beauty that his mind struggled to comprehend. Below, he saw a massive structure the size of a city with numerous workers building it. Thor explained that this dungeon would be based on the concept of the Minotaur's Maze. With a sly smile, Thor turned to Yu Damduk, who was still shocked by the size of the maze, understanding that such a maze would be of SSS class. Thor then told him that he would be building the maze alongside the other workers. Inside the dungeon, the building progress using the concept of the Minotaur's Maze, Yu Damduk was surprised at how amazing it looked when he was called by someone who was guiding him, telling him they had a tight schedule. On my way, said Yu Damduk, as he turned and followed the person guiding him. No need to overthink right now, cause I'm on a part-time job and need to complete my task and get paid, thought Yu Damduk inwardly. Please like if you enjoy, want to support the channel, subscribe, and check out other series on the channel you may enjoy. I am almost achieving my dream job of being monetized on YouTube thanks to all the support. If not for you, I would never have almost achieved my goal of 1,000 subs, which we are 40 subs away from 1,000 subscribers. Let's get back to the story. Yu Damduk knew if he wants to help humanity survive such god their doujin, he needed to know its ins and outs for him to get a chance to help humanity humanity to clear it, and for that, he needed to assist in helping every sector that requested help and acquire as much information. Whenever any sector team needed assistance in building their part of the dungeon, Udamduk didn't hesitate and assisted them. Even during lunch breaks, when any sector team leader requested assistance, Udamduk stood up, saying, "Say no more, I got you. What are we doing?" Bro be making 9 to 5 sound like a joke to him. Another sector leader was about to request for assistance, but he almost had a panic attack and ascended to Valhalla when he saw Udamduk's face instantly spawn before him, looking as if he was about to violate and devour him. "You are quite hard-working, huh? Careful, don't fall into manholes. Ditch in there," said the sector leader. "Don't worry. If I do, I will report for bad working conditions and request compensation for a dangerous working place," replied Udamduk with a warm smile. "You do know that's Thor, right?" answered the sector leader. "Of course, I know it's Thor, which means the compensation should be handsomely large. He dead. Yeah, he's a dead man," said the sector leader. "Bro wants to blackmail the god of thunder, Thor himself, bro docent, have balls of steel. His balls are at a cosmic level beyond our understanding."
A few moments later.
Udamduk was done with the manhole area, which Udamduk was surprised how fast they had done it. The red ogre asked Udamduk how he was holding up, to which he said he was okay. Nothing difficult like taking interviews from rigged corporations. The red ogre told Udamduk that they should head to the carriage, take a break, as they head to the next location. Red ogre asked Udamduk if all Asian gods are as enthusiastic as him. It depends on their personality, but the majority are when it comes to math and piano lessons. "I know it's cool. You haven't seen me do calculus off the top of my head, my guy. You will be stupefied by my mathematical intellect." Looking at the red ogre, he began to think that socializing with other workers, who are all gods, brings him benefits. Like if someone dares to mess with him, he just calls his homies, and all the gods jump the fool who dares to be his op. From here, we will have to walk by ourselves and set up meaningful traps. We can't allow thus dumbass to follow ass, or it will ruin everything on its way.
Damn, that's a cold-ass honky.
Wait traps, what the hell is this dungeon, thought Udamduk, nonchalantly offloading the cart and walking without cautiousness, when the red ogre yelled at him, stopping him, telling him what the hell was he doing walking haphazardly. "Look at the ground. Do you see those signs? They are traps. You must keep an eye on them at all times. Look over there, those 3 over there. Don't walk brainlessly, or you will be brainless in the next second. Thank goodness, I almost got myself killed. Is this your first time seeing them, huh? Then this will serve as an experience for you. As you know, the upper-class gods require some tests from humans, and low-class gods like us don't have any place for those, and force us to work to earn a living." The ogre explained to Udamduk how dungeons are constantly built, which gives a ton of work to low-class dungeons. The ogre, seeing Udamduk's eagerness, told him to go check the recently finished room for himself. Udamduk was astonished by what he saw before him. Udamduk couldn't believe that what he saw before him was built several minutes ago, which by humans could take years to be finished. Udamduk couldn't believe what type of method the gods use to build such a huge building in minutes. If he finds the source, he will give up his dream of being a hunter, because this method can make him rich to the level of Elon Musk. "Put the loads down here," told the ogre as he opened one of the boxes, telling Udamduk that the thing inside it will make this place worthy as a god's test dungeon. Udamduk peeked to see what was in the box as he reached his hand to a round-shaped object which felt like a rock. He was told by the red ogre that the rock spawns spiders from it, which left him in disgust and eerie. All the boxes they came with in the carry opened, and the other ogre showed Udamduk that by the time the spiders spawn, the dungeons will be a pain in the ass for sure. Udamduk, seeing the amount of spider shells over there when they spawn, they will spawn thousands of spiders. Udamduk's curiosity was piqued when he saw a long-shaped box and found a huge reptilian-like monster inside. He asked the ogre what type of monster it was. "It's the reptilian man," aka the lizard man, the ogre replied. Udamduk, looking at the exposed neck of the lizard glowing blue, reached out his hand while being fascinated by the transparent part. When he was stopped by the ogre, who told Udamduk to be careful not to touch it because that was the vital spot of the lizard man, Udamduk apologized, saying he didn't know that. The ogre told him to put it in the center and then they should head to the next room.
A few moments later.
This next room is the goblin's hiding shelter, said the ogre as he led the way, telling Udamduk that if the humans reach this destination, they will be close to the final destination. Udamduk just realized that the surroundings were cold in here. When Udamduk turned, he sensed some presence behind him. He turned and saw a shadow figure in a close look. He saw the creature has a green facial, long ears, and realized it was a goblin. The goblin opened his eyes violently and in rage and jumped towards our boy, saying, "Senpai!" This words and the scene before him left Udamduk astonished. Bewildered, shocked Bros, Flabbers was gasted. That moment Bro had suffered 15 heart attack, 4 asthma attacks, and 6 brain malfunctions all at the same time. The goblin stopped and let out a loud laughter. The ogre lets out a huge laughter which annoys Udamduk and tells our protagonist that the goblin was messing around for now, because when the dungeon is finished, thus guts are usually intelligent and tend to play and torture their prey before killing them. Udamduk, looking at the laughing goblin, had already concluded on their intelligence. The ogre takes Udamduk to a huge door with a bull symbol on it, telling him this is the end of the dungeon. Before Udamduk could speak, he told him that indeed he was right, that this was the place where the boss of the dungeon would reside. Udamduk, terrified by the size of the sheer entrance of the dungeon, began to wonder about the size and strength of the boss. When he heard Thor calling him and turned to look at the titan of a man, he smiled and complimented Udamduk's work. He said he had heard a lot of compliments about him and asked how the work was going. Udamduk told him that the work was great, thanks to the care he had given them. Thor complimented Udamduk for his brilliant ways to play with words and asked if they were done with the dungeon. The Red Ogre told Thor that they were remaining with one last procedure, to which Thor remarked on their good work. And the next second, he pulled out Mjolnir, saying only the last step he would deal with for now, needing to send the lower-class gods off to work. The size of Mjolnir was insanely large, shooting large thunderbolts everywhere. Thor smiled and complimented Udamduk for his good work, but Udamduk saw the sheer size of Mjolnir and knew survival wasn't an option if it landed on him. Thor dropped Mjolnir with great force, leaving Udamduk in fear, covering his head. The next moment, he felt everything went quiet, and he was teleported back to his room. Udamduk's heart almost burst in fear, thinking Thor had realized that he wasn't a god. Looking at his hand, he couldn't believe all he had experienced was actually real, and it wasn't a daydream. Shit, no one will believe me even if I told them, he thought. With tears of joy, Udamduk clenched his fist, saying he had finally awakened. When a system prompt interrupted him, saying that his salary had been paid, this made our protagonist filled with cold sweat, knowing he would be receiving rare coins. Clicking on the system to take a look at how the god currency works. When the system began to open the god's shop, the things Udamduk saw, he couldn't believe his own eyes in such things were sold. For the next part, give the video 10 likes and 200 views within 48 hours.